What it mean to be the best? Riding foes, feeling unimpressed. Make me reminisce, throwing bows, been in the corner, set my mind up on the goal. All I know is stay down, bad, I'm the goal. Okay, feel like the best, the great. Now ain't no debate. Yeah. Okay, feel like the best, the great. Now ain't no debate. Yeah. I ain't gotta say much. Know the boy got a touch. Another win for the rush. Another win for the rush. See me once and got a crush. See you twice and that's enough. Get the ring sized up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome in to Tell the Truth. Boy, we are back after the bye week, and the Kansas City Chiefs are facing what, in my opinion, is a must-win game if they want to stay alive in the AFC West, man. We had a nice little reset. We got to sit back, watch the NFL, enjoy some football. And since we talked to you last, we had some good news. CJ hit on a builder parlay last night. Saw that cash, CJ. Congratulations.
Give me that cash.
I did make my first appearance on radio. I was on the drive at 96.5 with Mr. Cedar Harrison. Had a great time talking to Carrington.
Driving down the street like
what, that white dude from home?
Yeah.
Most importantly of it all, DG has a great blessing that is on the way. Fortunately, he announced his wife is pregnant and hopefully expecting soon. And we continue to see a lot of prayers going up and hopefully this blessing and bundle of joy to his family going down. And for those that know DG, how nice he is, how amazing he is, how awesome he is, always willing to help out and reach out to people with anything that they may need. I love it for him and so much, man. So we've got some good news. DG, how you feeling, man? CJ, how y'all feeling?
Great, man. God is great.
All the time.
Coming a long way from where we come from last year or whatever. Many of y'all know me and my wife lost our son July 30th, 2024. And now we are in the realm of a new blessing coming into our life. Another baby boy on the way in March of 2026. So God has been doing this big one for us. A lot of nights praying and and just asking him to heal us, not only heal us, but bless us again as well too. And he's definitely answered our prayer. So excited, man. I'm just thankful for everybody who supported us and prayed for us through our dark times and things of that nature and reached out to us. We definitely appreciate you. Just ask that you continue to keep praying for us and that baby boy will get here safely and soundly. That y'all have a new nephew here soon.
Absolutely. Can't wait to meet him. As far as and I hope he is born in March. I got a soft spot for my fellow March man. So awesome and great to hear, certainly. So with that chance to look back as far as the bye week was concerned, and obviously the good news that had come with it, and I do also express in a different sort of sense the love and outpouring that I heard from announcing that I was going on the radio for the first time. That was really cool to see on Twitter. I got to say I wasn't expecting that type of response. You never know, what people
like,
say.
We in your building.
The nice comments that I got was very, very nice and uplifting. So, but yeah, now we get back to the business of football and what the Chiefs have for us. As I mentioned off the top here, I think it's a must-win game to stay alive in the AFC West. The Chiefs obviously are 2.5 games back of the Denver Broncos as it currently stands. As far as standings are concerned, immediately it's over. It's just done. We have seen the Broncos come off of what was a disgusting performance at home versus the Raiders in a 10.
DMac being nice, that game was ass.
This is awful.
Yeah,
it was so hard to watch. And now the question is, on the road, you have an opportunity versus a team that has struggled the way it has on offense. Coming off of what was, in my opinion, an embarrassing performance at Buffalo. Obviously, the score we'll say was a 1-score game, but the offensive game plan was poor, the defensive game plan was poor. And unfortunately, you also had a substandard performance from Patrick Mahomes too, especially watching it back on tape. So now this is your chance out of the bye week, game plan specific to understand the tendencies that you've seen on both sides of the ball from the Denver Broncos and to attack them accordingly. Can you do so? This is essentially going to determine, can you get to 10 straight AFC West titles or even have the chance to do that, in my personal opinion, too. And in many ways, it's still all in front of you as far as that is concerned, too. Real quick, before we get into the tape as far as Buffalo is concerned, do you guys agree with that sentiment that they need this game to stay alive in the AFC West?
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is it.
we're sitting at 4 losses. Broncos sitting at 2.
Yeah.
I think me, DMac, and Mark all pretty much tweeted the same thing. I think like a week ago. That Week 17 game where Denver and Kansas City will essentially, if everything goes according to plan, that'll be for the division. So this game is the first stepping stone in that direction. Halfway point through the season. Obviously, we've had a lot of ups and downs, but this is a must-win game. But this team has responded in the quote-unquote must-win games. If you want to count the Baltimore game, when we were obviously 1-2 at that point. You don't want to go down. We were 0-2. Obviously, and we're going into New York, and then obviously we handle our business versus the Ravens and then versus Detroit in those 2 quote like must-win games. So this team is usually rise to the occasion when their backs against the wall. So it's definitely a must-win game for me for sure. I expect them to be locked in.
Yeah, I said it in my space the other day. I actually like the position they're in because I think this makes them have no choice
They have
but to come out with a great game.
Lock in.
You know, and I think, you know, backs against the wall, what other position, you know, would you rather the Chiefs be in at this point, and how many times they proved it to you over and over again? So yeah, this is a gotta have it over my dead body Mahomes type of game. And just, you know, I don't care what the score is, I don't care how it looks.
Find a way.
You gotta go up to Denver in a hostile environment to win.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And I did want to get into that just to start off here of saying, hey, as far as this being the most important game within the Mahomes era, especially the regular season, as far as that's concerned, like you look back 2019, and this was brought up earlier today, I believe, on Mark's tweet that he had about it as well. 2019, the Kevin Harlan, I'm calling both games, Week 17, Chiefs have the opportunity, obviously, to have the bye week. To me, that's not necessarily as important because you're not fighting necessarily for the division in that case or fighting for your playoff life in that case. Yeah. It's just, hey, can you get the bye week? And the bye week's important, but it's not that level, in my personal opinion. 2021, we faced 2 of these games, in my opinion. At home, we had to play the Broncos when we were just over 500, and obviously then had to go to the Chargers later on in that season. And those were both 2 really big games, in my personal opinion, too. I wouldn't necessarily say it's as dire of a situation. Those were more, you know, hey, these teams could be tied with you if you lose this game. We're obviously coming from behind in this stance too. And then 2023, obviously versus Cincinnati, in which everything was, you know, you felt like coming off of the Christmas Day game that was just disgusting versus the Raiders. You felt like your season would kind of be on life support and the division could be in danger there if you didn't get it done. But still, all of those are kind of like, hey, it gets spooky if you lose. It's spooky now, and if you lose, then it's probably over as far as the division is concerned for this game coming up. So I think that this is the most important regular season game in the Mahomes era, personally. You guys got anything that would kind of left out as far as that was concerned?
No, essentially this is because no other game can essentially lock up the division after this game, win or loss. So this game means, I mean, everything is like usually the team that's more desperate, usually the team that comes out and plays well. So if Denver loses this game, they still have a chance to win the division. There's no debate. We have to win this game. So this is definitely like outside of that game you mentioned in 2021, there really hasn't been a game where like, hey, if you don't win this, you could lose your division. We haven't really said that too much in the Mahomes era. So we haven't said that in a very long time. So this probably is the most important game. And it being on the road, coming off a bye, a Broncos team that, granted, they haven't been playing that well. They're still 8-2. This is the first time in a while you could actually see our division title streak being threatened. So this is the most important game for me, for sure.
It kind of takes me back to actually that I think 2019 season. They lost to the Titans.
That was a bad loss.
Coming off a couple losses at that point in time. I think they were like 6-4. They had to go to Mexico to play the Chargers. Pretty much, I think the Chargers were had won like 3 or 4 straight at that point or whatever. It's really dire situation because if you lose that game, Chargers kind of take over the division lead, and who knows where that season kind of ends up. But backs were against the wall. They went all the way to Mexico, and they played a great game and ended up winning, propelling themselves to their first ring that year. So this is kind of got the same feeling on it right now. It's a division game. You know this team well. You know what they like to do. And like I said, I love these situations because
Me too.
This is what you live for. Hostile environment, especially in Denver. Already a heated kind of rivalry. I love the fact that Denver is better now. That these games are more important now than they used to be. So you gotta have it, man. Can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah, and I think that obviously Denver is better. It feels like the margin there is shrunk, and obviously the margin for error certainly has. But to your point, I love the fact that it is a must-win game in some respects, because it's time to see what this team has. Coming out of the bye week, we've seen a little bit of an up and down nature. They've obviously beaten some teams pretty impressively, but they've also lost a lot of close one-score games. It's time for this team to prove what it's got and put its best on the table, in my personal opinion. And we always have the conversation about holding things back for the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. That's cool. They don't have that luxury, in my opinion, for what they're looking at moving forward. And this is going to be a tough test because this defense is really good. And that's the reality of the situation. This offense has struggled a lot, but they have some ways in which they can get after this defense too, which we'll get into. I do want to specifically go to the Tell True tape of the week as far as Buffalo was concerned, and talk about some of the coverage things that I noticed when I was watching it back, and just things that when I was going through and charting and seeing who was ultimately responsible for the majority of the yards given up, it was a bit of an even distribution of sorts, I would say, after going back and watching it. I had Drew Tranquill for about 50 yards, Shamar Connor for 47 yards, Leo Chanel 47 yards, really one big play. McDuffie gave up 14 yards, Bolton 30 yards with an asterisk, which I think I'll have in here, and then Watson for 36. So it was even distribution as far as who was getting beaten, I would say, from that perspective, but it was also a little bit more intricate than what it might have seemed. So we'll start off with the most simple one, and I actually want to start here because I think it's actually a little bit indicative of, hey, Steve Spagnuolo is making some adjustments. Noah Williams is going to be in the slot here. Trent McDuffie is going to be at the top of the screen. They've got Shamari Connor and Brian Cook is lined up as the traditional safeties. Noah Williams is going to run across, obviously indicating man coverage there, but they're going to lock Khalil Shakir, who is the best Buffalo wide receiver, in essentially a bracket on the inside. Shamari Connor is going to play high and outside. Noah Williams is going to play low and inside. And you see that was the bracket that they had in place. And I would say Shamari even does a pretty solid job kind of staying here so that at least he can help out if, it's not Samuel. It's Curtis.
That's Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, if Curtis Samuel wins on this day, which he does versus Watson, of course, none of it necessarily matters. Dalton Kincaid wins on the corner route and beats Drew Tranquill pretty handily. And there's been a lot of talk as far as this is concerned. The linebackers in general has been a point of coverage concern, to say the least. My personal opinion, Drew Tranquill is supposed to be the will linebacker. Will linebacker's primary responsibilities is to be able to go sideline to sideline at a high level and be able to be really good at coverage. In my opinion, he hasn't been that for 2 straight years. And that's just the reality situation since obviously paying him. Last time that he was good in coverage and also good at sideline to sideline, he was a role player in 2023 and was rotating in and out with Willie Gay. So that's not to say that, I just think it was a little bit of a mistake to pay him. That's really just where I come down on it from. And that's, again, also not to say Nick Bolton isn't without his flaws. We know he has his flaws in coverage, but I'm also more willing to live with that because he's the Mike linebacker, not the Will. That's just simply how I see it too. How do you guys feel about the linebacker coverage talk before we get to this next play?
Yeah, you definitely can't leave Drew in these kind of positions, I feel like, anymore. Hopefully this is something that Spags is adjusting for this coming out of this bye. I've been screaming it all year. I really think we got a kid on the sideline that can do this job for you. If you just put him in and let him play, And I think you got two guys that can really do this job for you, Bassa and in Jaden Hicks, that can play this role for you. I love Drew, and I love what he brings to this team. I love his leadership and everything like that. And I think that that's important. But I think you also have to know as sometimes as a coach that a guy just can't do a certain job anymore. Just Father Time is undefeated at certain points. Drew's an older player at this point in his career. And I just think you got to start realizing that you got to put some more athletic guys in the game that can at least keep up with some of these tight ends and running backs and things of that nature. So, yeah, I mean, Drew can only do so much. I'd like to say I want to blame him, but I really just think this is a coaching error, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's tough to have seen going into this game how much they relied upon Dalton Kincaid, and then see that that's going to be your answer on a key third down in the red zone, just saying, "Hey, we're going to leave him one-on-one."
And after this mistake, you put him right back out there.
It's malpractice at this point.
I understand, and Drew, and even when Drew was in LA with the Chargers, which some fans probably don't remember, but we obviously watched him a lot. He wasn't he was their full-time starter, obviously, but he was still rotating in and out with other guys, whether it been Perriman or other guys during linebacker group. He wasn't the full-time every down linebacker. So, and he had his injury issues when he was in LA. So we got him in 2023 at a great value in our 3 linebacking core. That's why we had probably the best linebacking group in the league that year. You have a guy in Jeffrey Bassa. I know he's a rookie, but you at least have to give him snaps when it's obvious passing situations. It's not too many coverages, not too many procedures you have to go through. When you're on this down, you have your keys. Hey, you're manned up with this guy, run with him. You have inside leverage, play outside, and then run with him and use your legs. So in those type of situations, I would love for Jeff to get in, like DG just said, or at Jaden Hicks when it's obvious passing downs. Those are the plays when Drew needs to be off the field. It doesn't mean he can't play first, second down. I think those snaps should be cut primarily as well, not for the whole game, but partially. But I think when it's obvious passing situations, that's when it's a coaching mistake for me as well. You have to take him off the field when you know he's not good in coverage and it's a clear passing down.
It makes no sense that for Spags, you like to play 3 safeties. You'll do it with Shamar Connor, but you won't do it with Jaden Hicks. I don't understand it at all. I would when that's been one of your bread and butter coverages.
Just go big nickel, bro. Put them in there. It's not hard.
But that's even more frustrating thing. You're willing to do the big nickel 3 safety stuff if it takes a corner off the field,
but not a linebacker off. That's what I'm saying.
But if you're and you understand that you would do that necessarily be better versus the run, but in obvious passing situations, if you get that third safety on the field instead of Drew Tranquil, and we'll use safety here because it could be Jaden Hicks as a dime linebacker, it could be Jeffrey Bassa as a linebacker next to Nick Bolton. Either one to me would be an upgrade from a coverage perspective. Then that makes you better for that specific situation that you're going up against. And I don't think I understand why they like to do the little, hey, we're going to disguise some stuff. I think Hicks and Bassa would even be better at the disguising, rotating type of stuff. They could blitz too. Tranquil obviously is a good blitzer, but I don't think Hicks and Bassa are losing too much if you send them on a blitz from that perspective too. So that's the frustrating.
I got a question. Do y'all think that the threat of James Cook in this game is ultimately what made Spags possibly leave 2 linebackers on the field at points in time?
Yeah, and understandably so from that aspect of it. I don't.
He still had 200 yards, even 100 yards with it. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But in that,
really didn't matter. And he still
that's exactly what it comes back to for me. I understand it. I get why you landed here. Reality situation is you weren't stopping them on the ground anyway. You just weren't.
Why not put the better athletes out there?
So when you get them into the obvious passing situations, play for it because you have to get off the field in those situations, in my opinion. So that's a frustrating part of it. I want to go to this next one. And I chose these in order for a specific reason. This next one is an interesting one. Early down here, obviously 3 linebackers on the field. They got a nice. I think this isn't heavy person. This is heavy personnel.
Yeah.
Is it jumbo?
21. Yep.
Yeah. They got 21. Yeah. They got 21 out here. 2 back set. Gilliam just looks huge back there, by the way. Play action. And they do a pretty good job from a man coverage perspective, in my opinion. Just kind of making sure everything's nice and locked up. The issue then becomes, hey, we're not getting pass rush, especially not in the early downs when you don't have what you hope is your best pass rushing package out there. B gap is left wide open because Dana goes too wide. 90 is just right in the middle of the field. Ultimately, Allen comes up. Bolton then has to abandon his man to do that. And then Christian Roland Wallace isn't fast enough to trigger, in my opinion. And so people will see that and be like, well, that's obviously on Nick Bolton. Well, you can't cover and also shut off the B gap at the same time. It's a very difficult thing to be in two places at once. So in my opinion, when and I'm going back to the sideline copy, CRW here is playing the robber role, and he does an okay job kind of just floating. And I understand why he's getting depth here to make sure that he covers the dig. You got to trigger faster. And again, he's young. He hasn't played a lot, so there's an issue with that aspect of it. But he's got to trigger here. The second that Allen is flipping up, he's got to go right now. He's got to come to help because he knows that nobody else is going to be there, and he just doesn't trigger fast enough to help on the tight end.
What the fuck is Mike Dana doing?
Yeah, I don't know what Dana's doing here. I just
he just widened for no reason. He literally took 2 steps and then just widened for no reason. Didn't even try to compress the pocket. Didn't try to go at Josh. Just stood there. Look at him. Just stand
go back, DMac.
The idea to the sideline view. The idea of trying to keep contain is not. I'm going to go 5 yards upfield and 5 yards
go away
outside.
to the sideline. Yeah, like bro, close the gap. Like if you're gonna just play edge and set the edge, that's fine. But close the gap, like push him toward the line. You're just going out for no reason.
No, Aminihu was chipping hitting the tight end as he releases there. That's the reason why he's delayed.
Yeah, he was chipping.
But why are you this wide like that?
Yeah, Mike Dana messed up in his assignment. If you're setting the edge, you can close the gap. You literally just made a parking lot size of a hole to just let Josh just run through. You can set the edge and squeeze down. That's what you're taught to keep your inside hand strong and your outside arm free. I'm fine with that. But you didn't squeeze at all. You just stood there and widened for no reason. And there was nobody out there threatening you. So I don't know why you were widening in the first place. Takes 2 steps off the ball, then just widens. Like, where are you going? There's nobody out there.
Yeah,
Squeeze.
And I before the game, I said this was a game where when you face Josh Allen, it's not necessarily about getting him to the ground. If you get him to the ground, great. You know? It's more about keeping that containment on him because you know when he can do things like this, he's a lot more dangerous. When he can get on the perimeter, I feel like I want to do everything I can to make sure I keep him in the pocket and make him have to make throws from the pocket all game. If we do that,
especially with those receivers, for sure.
Yeah, it hasn't gone all that well this year as the Dolphins.
That's exactly my point.
Right. So if you're able to do that, right, you start to force him into certain things that he doesn't necessarily do well. And we've all seen through his career, Josh is at certain points in time, as great as he is, and I do think he's top 5 quarterback in this league. I would put him right next to Mahomes. There are points in times though where you know he'll make a mistake. You know he'll force it. He'll force it at certain points because he is that important to this team. He knows through his success and the way he plays on the field, we're not winning if I'm not making enough plays. You know, so there are certain points or times where I have to take a risk. You know, so I don't get why if Mike Dana would go this wide to try to even I don't know what you were doing in that, you know. That to me is where this film breakdown. That's where this starts for me. Forget Nick Bolton. Forget Christian Roland Wallace. What are you doing? What was your job?
You literally just made the lane for him. Literally off the snap. You did nothing.
There's no excuse for this to be the B gap. There's just no excuse.
What are you doing?
Like, it's a wide open lane. And Josh is probably looking at it like
Josh could have took off right now. He didn't even have to sit there and throw. He could have ran right now instantly. Right. Just told James block. Just run.
Yeah. So and this is very important, and it'll be a little bit more important when I talk about Bo Nix later on. The difference is when you scramble to specifically create certain things. Mahomes is the best in the league, in my opinion, at doing so. I think certain quarterbacks, like a young Caleb Williams, I think scrambles with a purpose to actually put the defense in conflict. Or certain quarterbacks scramble because they're scared. they panicked and they wouldn't get out of it. But Allen does a good job here. He drops back, lets everybody go because he knows it's man coverage, and then takes advantage of this massive gap that's opened up. So I'll say all that to say that was, I think it ended up being 22 of the yards that I had for Nick Bolton on the day. And, and that's to say, hey, he wasn't really the big coverage issue that people say that he is, at least in this specific game. There are games in which he has been, but it wasn't in this one, in my personal opinion. Let's go to another one here that was actually live. I was watching it. I thought that it was on Drew Tranquill. When I watched it back, I was like, no, it's probably a little bit more on Leo Chanel. True drop back situation. Essentially going to rotate. They kind of start out here. And it's important to point out what they rotate. They kind of start out 2, and then they rotate what the robber look, and then they roll all the way back into a cover 2. More of a traditional type of 2 look as he kind of runs the pipe. Shamari Connor does. They get the high-low over the middle of the field. Leo Chanel goes with Shakir, but he follows him the full way, and he doesn't pass it off, whereas Drew Tranquill, and you'll see it on the reverse angle, stops within the window like he was going to be able to pass it off. And then ultimately, Dawson Knox goes in between here, and was that Hayes? No, that's Kincaid, sorry. Kincaid catches this one that goes for 47 yards, and I want to show the reverse angle too. And you'll see it, like Leo is coming out here. He recognizes the shallow crosser, goes with him, and then Drew Tranquill's going to get a stop in the middle. He's like, okay, we're passing this off, and then they don't pass it off. Based on the coverage, I would say that they should have passed it off, and that's on Leo for following him too far. I'll go back to the sideline angle real quick. Other people said, hey, Noah Williams has got to be a little bit quicker into that window. That's the second window where the hook defender should be. That's not Noah Williams' responsibility, in my personal opinion, too. So this one, it would be one I would put on Leo Chanel personally.
It's just this game. I feel like
because if you pass that off, Josh, if he makes that throw, Leo, you can get your hand up and bat it down, or better, you could pick it.
It's too much base, man. Too much base. Too many seeing linebackers out. Like it's just way too much. I hope
DB,
this is
more DBs.
We need more DBs on the field. I'm sorry. This was not the game for you to trot your linebackers out there and just say, yeah, you guys.
Especially in this set right here, bro. I don't need to see Leo, Drew, and Nick on the field. Not right here, bro. Not they're in 11 personnel. Absolutely not.
It is tough enough.
Spot right here.
It's tough enough when you don't have coverage linebackers in general. Right. It's tough when you have 3 that are sub.
Like all on the same, and it's a long passing down. Come on, bro.
Like it's tough across the board from that aspect. So like it's just not a good, down and distance to have 3 linebackers on the field. Yeah, they can run the ball. I understand that it's second and I think it's 15 or 12, maybe around
back. Their best run threat is on the sidelines on this play.
It's Ty Johnson. What's the 3 linebackers for?
What's the 3 linebackers for? Like
I told you, he's rolling, bro.
This is goes to the sideline.
DB.
Then what are we doing?
Cook off the field, 11 personnel. This should not be a 3 linebacker set. You should be at the very least in big nickel. Really more so in regular nickel, and maybe even in dime.
I really would have ran dime. I would have had Nick Bolton right here. I would have had Chamari on the other side and Jaden on the other side. And say, Chamari, you get probably Kincaid. He's a slower guy. I'd have put Jaden Hicks on. Who was that? Curtis Samuel in the slot. Yeah, you would have ran with him, pass it off. Because Leo did it right here. Like DMac said, you're in the right spot. You did a good job.
Now just
stay
stop.
There. Don't go. Stay there.
Stop it and recognize that guy is coming behind you, and he just doesn't. And so Allen makes the throw, and obviously that goes for 47 yards. And so it, like I said, it was a little bit of everybody at a certain point of some of these mistakes that were going on, and obviously all of this is exacerbated as we got into the last clip. They just didn't get a lot of pass rush. And that's always going to make it difficult for you to be able to bother guys as well. And they do a solid enough job there, kind of, getting something in his face and keeping him contained, but obviously not enough to prevent that there. So the other one I wanted to get to, that was actually a Drew issue, in my personal opinion. Here, they're going to get a little kind of zone to the top of the screen. Noel is going to be locked backside on the tight end. That's close. Another 11 personnel, and they do match with nickel in this case. Obviously, Cook and Shamari playing the cover 2 highs. It's kind of more of a cover 6 look because Connor's kind of
2 to the bottom.
Yeah, quarter up to the top and 2 at the bottom. Drew Tranquil is just a little bit slow to react to this crosser here. And he ends up chucking Noel Williams, chucking the tight end when Noel Williams
was
is
Noel
already
supposed to pass
attacking
it
him.
off, or he's supposed to run with him?
He's locked backside, so I imagine it's
Noah
man.
running with him, but then Drew said like he was supposed to pass it off.
Exactly. I think it's man everywhere he goes, based on the way that they played this coverage. So Drew has got to know that if it was a shallow crosser, he's got to be responsible for it, and he just doesn't. He decides to chuck the tight end, and they get the wide open crosser to Khalil Shakir for.
I look, he would have rather than pass that off, because even if Noah does pass it off, he has to get past Leo, and then he's gonna, or not Leo, but Drew. Then he's gonna go right into Trent as well, or Jayla Watt up top. So I would have rather him pass it off personally, because even if he can't hit Shakir and he throws that cross to Kincaid's gonna run right into J Watt.
No. I think the only thing I'll say is that I think that the way that they called this coverage was for Noel to be locked backside. I think that's just the way that the coverage is called, and so that means you got to make sure that you got if there's a crosser that comes across, because Drew is obviously
you got to back up there and give him some space to run through.
Yeah, you give him some space to run through, and you know that you have anything number 3 that comes across. You got to know that. And so he chucks Kincaid, allows Shakir to go all the way across, and that's it.
Bad communication for sure. If you're gonna pass it off, pass it off. He would have came right to you. It would have been perfect. So if you're gonna run. That's why I don't like putting Drew in that spot, because I don't think he's that good personally, or that intended enough to do that. DMac. That's why I would have said, bro, just pass it off. So much easier.
I don't think you're wrong about that either.
No, it's a vet. You got.
I'm not making it complicated for you, bro. Just the DG, whatever's going on right now, shit ain't registering with Drew. So we need
you gotta help your rookie out at that point.
That's what I'm saying,
you gotta
bro.
Know that you know.
That's why I think that's actually, I think that they did simplify it for Noel there. They're saying, hey, we're not gonna ask you to have a bunch of zone eyes here. We're just gonna say, hey, your backside of this, follow the backside guy, the isolated guy, wherever he goes. And I think he does it well. He plays trail tech. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe he just misunderstood the coverage and the rules from that perspective. It's definitely possible, but he's in perfect trail technique to play a crosser in man coverage. So I imagine he was probably doing what he was supposed to be doing.
He didn't execute.
I don't think Drew executed on this one. So
too many busted coverages. Too many. Got to clean those up.
Last one I wanted to show was just an example sometimes of the L's of really, because you see some of these other ones that are you're showing, or I'm showing, I should say, and Shamari Connor is doing a pretty good job of being in the right place. But if you're going to do all the rotating disguise stuff, sometimes you get Shamari in the wrong place, which is where he struggles, which is closer to the line of scrimmage, especially trying to go backwards. And so you'll see he kind of chucks the up man as far as this trip set is concerned, gets turned all the way around, and then his assignment obviously is to kind of play that little oh man, it just jumped out of my head. It'll come back to me later, but kind of playing that boundary zone where he just gets too much depth, and he just keeps getting depth, and then all of a sudden Keon Coleman is wide open near the sticks in the flat and is able to get that first down too. So it's more so something that I want to point out with Shamari Connor. Again, playing top down, he can play zone coverage as well. Playing near the box and then backwards, that's where he really has issues. And obviously, we've seen that certainly whenever he's been in the slot. So that was one that also kind of jumped off the screen to me as well.
Like, it just baffles me that you drafted 2 kids for this. Like, put them Spags put them on the field, man. I know you like Shamari. Like, I understand it, and I have no issues with Shamari being one of the full-time safeties, right?
I think and it's funny because Jaden Hicks standing right there in the picture.
Right. No,
he's standing right there like, damn, I could have did that.
What are you, and that's what made me, is it something in practice that you're seeing that Jaden's just not picking up, or something like somebody needs I need to know these questions, because I'm not understanding how we are 9 games into the season. I understand if this is week 1, week 2, or even week 5, we're still trying to figure things out. Understandable. We're in week 10, bro. Like,
that's why after this bye, if we don't see Jaden Hicks or Jeffrey Bossa, we have a problem.
Yeah,
I'm not saying they got to play significant snaps, but when there's situations where their legs and their athleticism can benefit us, they have to be on the field. It's point blank period. You can't keep Drew and Leo out there and putting them in positions where you're asking them to do things they're not equipped to do. I get it. Leo Chenal is an incredible athlete. He made a great pick, probably play of his life when he played versus the Ravens, that play versus Mark Andrews. But there's just certain situations, bro, they're just not built for. And you just need to put guys who are more athletic in those situations. And I'd rather, if we get beat because Jaden Hicks isn't fast enough or he doesn't learn or doesn't bad eyes, I'd rather live with that than have a guy out there who's physically incapable of moving in a certain way.
Yes.
I would much rather live with that result.
Yes. I'd rather live with the mistakes of them making mistakes.
For sure. Especially the young guys who are faster. I can teach you to be better.
I'd also live if they run the ball for over 200 yards on you, not getting wide open passes completed on a consistent basis.
Crossers, stuff that's simple, like pass offs. Like, bro, these are simple. None of these are exotic. Like,
and this is a passing offense that struggled mightily versus the Miami Dolphins because they don't have the outside talent when guarded by corners to beat you. And instead you gave them easy buttons after easy button after easy button because you had these guys that I understand theoretically defend the run better. I didn't see it, to be perfectly honest with you, as far as this matchup was concerned, because they got whatever they wanted to on the ground, and now are this week as far as coverage is concerned. Last one before we get out of the tape of the weekend, specifically on defense. This is a big play. Some people will attribute this to Noah Williams, and I understand why. I get it. To me, this is a little bit, just a little bit, on Shamari Connor playing single high safety in some of in this middle field closes, cover three, of some of the ills of not having that true free safety ability, because he's obviously rotating over here from a cover two disguise shell. But that is Trent McDuffie at the top of the screen. You got to trust him. You got to trust that Trent McDuffie is going to be able to do his thing, and you got to help the rookie to the bottom of the screen, in my opinion. And he's just late getting over there on the corner route. And then the other part of it too is Brian Cook is not midpointing the flat and the sit down the right way, in my opinion. He's nailing down a little bit too much on the sit. And that means that Noah Williams then has to help out on the flat, which then opens up the corners.
You gotta pace him up to give him time to recover. So you gotta jam him up a little bit. You ain't gotta kill him, but just give him a little nudge to give him a second or two for Noah to help recover. Because you literally did nothing to impede Elijah Moore running that corner route, running that sail. You did nothing to impede his progress. You got to jam him up or something. And I know he's 5 yards within the line of scrimmage, but you got to run with him, phase with him, like give him a little elbow to the shoulder, something to give him a second. Like, do something.
Take the flag. It's 5 yards versus what we're getting now, 20, 30.
Exactly. Because if he takes the flat immediately, knows I can bail because there's nothing in front of me threatening me. Or if anything, just like slow Elijah down. But you just stood there.
You know you've got two hook defenders there. Like
you don't need to jump this. Yeah,
get the flat and allow him to help you out as far as that.
And even if Dawson Knox does catch it, look where the sticks are. The sticks is the 30. If he catches that at the 26, he's not going to outrun you. Like, bro, he's right there. Like,
so it's tough. And again, that's going to be put on Noah Williams. But I think that it was a little bit of a lack of detail from Shamari Connor in the timing, from Brian Cook and being able to midpoint between that sit and the flat. And unfortunately, that resulted in another explosive play to Elijah Moore. And look, it's a good catch, a good throw. You got to give credit to the Bills guys. So those are some of the things that I noticed, really just highlighting detailed mistakes that, in my opinion, need to be cleaned up. And obviously highlighting also, you got to find a way to get Bassa or Hicks on the field to help out the coverage, particularly taking a linebacker off the field. And I understand from the run defense perspective, but truthfully, that's not the thing that concerns me the most, especially not when the offense does what it needs to do, in my personal opinion. So moving on, the only other thing that I wanted to quickly show, this was after I believe, I can't remember the exact sequence, but this was after the Chiefs had a second down. The Bills did a good job running a man coverage against them. And everything was pretty much locked up. They didn't have anything really open. Andy Reid came back with a really good man beater. And he's going to run a nice switch release. Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy here at the top of the screen. It's just, we've seen that plenty of times before. Oh, no. Okay, we're going to see it first here. So they're going to play the screen, fake screen, the bubble to the top of the screen with Hollywood Brown. Travis Kelce is essentially going to be locked up to the bottom of the screen. They're going to run Xavier Worthy on this slot fade, and then Rashee Rice on this little zig route. And nothing's ultimately going to be open on this man coverage snap. And so what I like to see specifically from Andy Reid being able to adjust accordingly off of it, comes back immediately, and you'll see at least the Rashee Rice route here from the slot, understands that they did run that man coverage there on that second down, say, hey, okay, we got to come back with a man coverage beater. And it wasn't just a simple mesh either. It was an actual, man coverage beater designed to beat, create explosive off of it. Like I said, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy does a good job rubbing off Hollywood Brown's slot defender on this switch release, gets Hollywood Brown open on the sideline for that wheel route. Mahomes hits him in stride. And obviously that's a nice explosive play right on the money. And so that was just nice to see that they came back with a true man beater, especially from an explosive standpoint, to be able to get him open there. And I want to see more of that. I want them to really attack these defenses down the field. Right now they're I believe they were 6th or 7th as far as explosive plays per game so far, which is good. That's obviously an incredible improvement over last year, but I don't think that they've even scratched the surface of how good that can get based on some other things as far as the schematic aspects of it. But I want to see more of this stuff as we go forward, especially some difficult defensive matchups too. And obviously this week is one of those. So that's the major tape stuff as far as obviously looking back at last week. Anything else you guys want to mention in the Bills game before we turn the page?
Nope. You know the adjustments you need to make. Everything that we just talked about are very simple fixes. Nothing out there is exotic. Nothing's out of pocket. Not asking for a lot. Just go out there and do what you need to do. Make the adjustments and go out there and be better.
Yeah, absolutely. So big news. As far as coming out of the bye week, Mr. Josh Simmons has returned. We mentioned this obviously previously, but we did get the first practice look. And obviously Josh Simmons fortunately did practice in full. Isaiah Pacheco did not practice. And then also George Karlaftis was limited in practice as well. So good news, Josh Simmons is out there. I would say him logging a full practice is a good sign for him hopefully being ready to go. It was reported that he was working out during his time away. So, as long as he is ready to go, I think that you got to go out there and put him out there. I think he gives you the best shot really to try and contain this pass rush that is obviously going to be led by Nick Bonito, who most often aligns to the left side of the offensive formation too. So it's going to be a tough battle, to say the least, as far as this really good defensive line for the Broncos. But hopefully the Chiefs will have their starting and most idealized offensive line. Jawan Taylor was also full as far as that was concerned. Obviously, there was an ankle issue at the end of the Bills game too. Trey Smith also full with the back issue, so that's good too. Broncos do have some injuries. Obviously, Patrick Surtain II seems like it's going to be unlikely that he's going to end up playing in this. Alex Singletary, unfortunately, had testicular cancer.
Man, that came out of nowhere. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, that one came out of nowhere. So prayers for him. Hopefully, he's rested and healed. It gets back to
that's scary for sure. He caught it too. So,
yeah, fortunately, they did catch it. And so they are missing a few pieces, and hopefully that
J.K. Dobbins. Maybe a possible IR candidate. So.
Yeah, possible IR candidate. Had a foot issue and tweeted some angry words at the NFL over the hip drop tackle rule. Accordingly, though, I'll be honest with you, I watched it back. It didn't really look like a hip drop.
Yeah, I saw that play. It was. I'd be upset about the tackle, but it wasn't really a hip drop for him.
But so he has a foot issue. Seems like he's going to end up missing the game, and RJ Harvey is going to probably get the start for the Denver Broncos as well. That is, we can only pray.
Hope, right? That is a hope.
Let's go. That's the goal.
So I'm gonna, before we turn the full page to Denver, I want to ask you guys just big picture concerns for the Chiefs in the second half here. What is your biggest offensive concern for the Kansas City Chiefs as they come out of the bye week moving forward?
Keeping Josh Simmons on the field.
Right.
Nothing else, honestly. This offense is rolling at a very high level, doing the thing they're supposed to do offensively. Personnel, I think we can do whatever we want out of 11, 12, or 10. I'm not really worried about that. Obviously, you want to see Pacheco back on the field, but I think Kareem Hunt is clearly shown he can carry a workload like he did last year for a month for us. So Offensively, I'm not really worried. I just want them to do the thing they're supposed to do. Stay under center, use your play action, use your nakeds and your jet sweeps, and put pressure on the defense and not only stretch them vertically but horizontally. And I think that's what made our offense so dynamic for that 3-week stretch when we played, obviously, the Commanders, the Raiders. Bad teams, but we did the things we wanted to see them do offensively. And having Rasheed Rice on the field just makes your red zone offense to another level from an efficiency standpoint. So offensively, I'm not worried, honestly. Just want to see everybody be on the field together again.
Yeah, offensively, just bro, be committed to the things you're good at. You know, I think that's the biggest solution. Obviously, keeping Josh Simmons on the field is very, very important. But the Chiefs really, a lot of times, beat themselves just because they decide to not commit to what they're actually good at. You know, and go away from it. That's what's indicative of this Bills game for real. You went out there with a lackluster game plan and didn't stick to what you had done and built on those 3 previous weeks before. So, yeah, going forward, I just think that if they stick to that, then they'll be fine. And I expect to see that, you know, but they got to be committed to it.
That's facts.
Yep. The biggest concern I have really is the game plan, because I think it was, and don't get me wrong,
What were you supposed to do?
Mahomes didn't play as well as you would have hoped, to say the least. I don't think it was a good Mahomes game, but
didn't help them either.
No, they didn't help. They didn't get under center. You saw obviously what the heck the Dolphins run game was able to do to them.
Bruh, 21 personnel.
Be like, hey, guess. A lot of people be like, well, yeah, they got Devin Achane. That's the reason. No, it's not the reason. It's because they dominated them in the trenches, because they can be had in the trenches when you allow them to move forward. So that's the game plan for me. You got to be able to be balanced. You got to be able to use some of the under center stuff, and really attack these teams in the ways in which they could be manipulated, specifically over the middle of the field and second level. And you have the wide receivers to beat these guys. You have the tight ends to beat these guys. You just got to scheme it up right, in my personal opinion. And Josh Simmons, obviously, offensive line staying healthy is a big piece of that. As long as that 5 is out there, then I feel confident that they can go up against anybody as far as the defensive line is concerned. Obviously, they probably are going to get the 2 best defensive lines in football within the next 4 weeks, as far as the Broncos and Texans are concerned. So it's going to be imperative that they stay healthy. But I feel good about this offense as far as the talent is concerned. It's just they got to put these guys in a position to succeed, in my opinion. And that falls on Andy Reid. So we'll see.
All the 6 offensive linemen, all the under center stuff were season lows versus the Bills. So basically, point blank period, what you didn't do. So
no excuse for that. Biggest defensive concern for you guys coming out of the bye week, moving forward for the Chiefs.
Linebackers and coverage. I'm going to tell you right now, Evan Ingram watching that tape about to be licking his chops. He's like, Dalton Kincaid did that. Evan Ingram's a good athlete as well. He's not as fast as Kincaid, in my opinion, but he's still an incredible athlete who can beat you in one-on-one coverage. So if he sees, no disrespect to Drew Train, if he sees 23 out there, food. So you better make some adjustments. You better put Jaden Hicks or Jeffrey Buzz out there, because Evan Ingram is going to get a lot of work this week. I can promise you that.
For me, I think it's 2 things: the linebackers and coverage, and this defensive line. You got to win, man. I know. Look, I understand it's not changing anytime soon. The personnel is what it is. Ain't nobody come to save you or anything like that. That was one of the biggest things at the deadline that I was hoping that they would make a change to. Sounds like they tried and just things didn't go the way that they wanted it to. The guys in the room have to step up. They got to play better. Charles Omenihu has to be better. Chris Jones has to be better. Mitch Karlaftis has to be better. Mike Dana has to be better. You know, I need more from those guys, especially the veterans in that room, to go out there and do their job. I'm not asking you to lead the league in sacks or anything of that nature, but you got to go out there and you got to be able to put some kind of pressure on some of these teams, on some of these quarterbacks, and being able to get them to the ground to affect what's going on, especially in the coverage situations or whatever. If you're able to get to the quarterback, you probably won't have to worry about Drew Tranquil being in coverage and things of that nature. So, that has to be better going down the stretch. And I think a lot of it on that side too is coaching as well too. I love Spags. I think he's a genius. But he's got to start realizing that you can't be loyal to certain guys all the time and expect them to do things that they're just physically not capable of anymore. So
loyal
I'll
to
make
the
a
team,
change.
not loyal to the player.
Yeah, I'll make a change, man.
Mm-hmm. And look, this is the time out of the bye week. You've had the time to self scout. We'll see what you have coming out. And again, like we talked about, there's no messing around from here. The margin of error is thin.
This is it.
And obviously, this week you have to win if you want to stay alive in the AFC West and accomplish that number one goal that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes all talked about today. If you want to do that, you got to come out with your game plan today or on Sunday to win versus a good team on the road. That's just the reality situation. My number one concern is the defensive line. I don't know where it's coming from. Yeah, you can hope that Charles Minnie was better. Obviously, Karlaftis being better, Chris Jones being better, sure, but
it is what it is.
Tough. It's tough, and I do think that you can place that call to Christian Wilkins, see if he's healthy. I don't know. You probably would have heard something, in my opinion, from his agent if he was. So I would not be holding out hope from that perspective. So it's going to be on these guys in the room if they're going to be better. And if they can't be, then hey, you're going to hope that the coverage can be so good on the back end that it doesn't matter. But for that to happen, like we said, you got to get either Bass or Hicks in the room or on the field, I should say, on these obvious passing situations too. So with that being said, now we can turn the page to Denver. And there's one thing that I wanted to point out specifically over the past 2 weeks that I noticed. Obviously, Denver hasn't given up much. 18 points to the 15 points, I should say, to the Texans, 7 points to the Raiders. But Dalton Schultz had himself a nice game. Brock Bowers, I thought, had one good rep specifically versus Denver. He had more than one good rep, but one completion specifically that stood out to me. And because the linebacker level for the Broncos is a little bit questionable right now, I think that there are ways in which you can really manipulate them. And a big piece of it is the ways in which they like to use Funga to try and create a lot of chaos at the line of scrimmage. For those that can't see, he's got some long hair here, but he's kind of playing the slide. He's ultimately going to blitz at the top of your screen. And they drop him out, end up, only sending 4 and having, kind of I guess you would consider this cover one robber of sorts, maybe.
Yeah,
a little bit, but
they just replaced him and sent one high and sent everybody manned up. So yeah, basically.
Yeah. But ultimately what it does is it to the top of the screen leaves Schultz open to be able to come from the outside, kind of run this nice little skinny skinny glance route, I'll say specifically, and catches that ball in that window. It's able to create some
hell of a ball.
Yeah. Shout out to Davis Webb for putting that. That was Davis Webb. Was
that D Millie?
Yeah, that was Webb.
Oh no, I think
that's Stroud. That's Stroud. Stroud was still in the game before Stroud got hurt. And put that one on the money too. And then we're gonna, you can see it from this end zone angle. Funga's gonna blitz, drop him out, ends up leaving a little bit open separation there for Schultz over the middle of the field. And to me, and obviously they're without Patrick Surtain the second in this game, so the corners are a little bit more gettable in that sense. To me, that's where you really got to attack this Broncos team, is over the middle of the field, getting after the linebackers, because otherwise you're not going to be able to get too much as well. And then I just wanted to show this next one because we've obviously seen this on a consistent basis for the Chiefs, just a nice little sit-down route because the linebacker doesn't trigger fast enough to be able to help out there. So there are ways in which you can use the tight ends effectively. The other one I wanted to show, they like Hufanga to be able to do what he wants to do in a kind of a Troy Polamalu-esque sense, but you can also take advantage of that if you're able to, A, block it up for whatever he's doing, and then to give your quarterback time and then allow the weapons to uncover. So they're going to be in a little bit of a cover 2 look, cover 2 man, and ultimately Bowers is going to beat his slot defender here. Hufanga is really focused on the what's it called, the shallow crosser that's going to come on the bottom of the screen. He immediately triggers down off of it, and Brock Bowers just runs right by him out of the slot and is right over there to the vacated area of the field that he ended up vacating. And that's not to say Hufanga's made a lot of plays this year because he has a lot of high instincts and he's really athletic. But if you're disciplined and block things up, you give your quarterback time to be able to take advantage of some of that aggressive nature that he has. And we've done that well when he was even playing in San Francisco too. So I want to see that aspect, and specifically with Travis Kelce, I think could be useful from that perspective too. How do you guys feel about Kelce versus this Broncos defense before we go ahead and dive a little bit deeper into the matchup?
I think it's a good matchup. I think Kelsey's over for this game is like 44.5 or something like that. I'd be inclined to put a little bread on something like that, especially with how good this pass rush is. I could see this as a game where Pat kind of heavily relies on some of those underneath things that him and Trav can kind of do. We've seen Trav have good games against Denver before historically, so I think this could end up being one of those games where the Yeti needs to be the Yeti. So I like the matchup for him in this one, especially with Alex Singleton being out.
Yeah, but even when he was out there, he looked a little slow. Obviously, we have a lot of guys in the middle of the field, whether it be Rashid, Juju, anybody in the middle of the field should have a good day on this defense for sure. But more so specifically to Kelce, he could put him in conflict. So I expect a lot of mesh concepts over the field, a lot of zig routes, a lot of sit routes for Kelce to help him get open. I don't think none of their linebackers can cover him one-on-one, even at his age, which is kind of crazy to say. So I expect them to bring Hufanga down in the box, like DMac said, probably box him in and try to double team him, which is I love that because you're just giving Rashid Rice one-on-ones and Juju one-on-ones, and they're going to eat over the middle of the field over their deep overs and their crossers. So but I definitely think middle of the field should be – that's where I always say that's where your money's won. When you want to make big plays in the NFL, it should be another good week for us for sure. But Kelce should definitely have a good day. I definitely would put a wager on his ATD for sure if they're going to really – because if I'm the DC, I would do everything in my power to stop Rashid Rice. He's the engine of this team right now. I think every time he touches the ball, he's liable to get a first down or a score. So I would probably more so do that. But if they leave him one-on-one, somebody has to eat. So it definitely should be a big week for the zone beaters for sure for us.
Not mad at it at all. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the matchups for the Broncos. So we can start on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, Broncos defense has been very good the entirety of the season. Obviously, they're headlined by their defensive line, Zach Allen, Jonathan Cooper, John Franklin Myers, obviously Nick Benito, awesome off the edge. These guys get after you. They're nasty. They don't give up much as far as the run game is concerned either. In my opinion, you got to keep them relatively honest in that aspect of it. But the reality situation is when Josh Simmons has been out there, I felt like this is, a top 3 offensive line unit in the National Football League. So this is strength on strength. And if you can hold up in the trenches, I think, like I said, especially without Patrick Surtain II, there are ways to get after him with the linebacker position. And I think you have an advantage as far as the wide receiver talent that you have out there versus their corners. Rodney Moss could be had. Jade Barron, obviously, was the draft darling of U2. I think he's been solid for them this year. But I would still say that there are advantages to be found out there. So really for me, it's about the trenches. If you hold up in the trenches, stay balanced, and give your offensive line a chance to move forward too, then I think you can have a really good offensive day versus defense. And that's what it comes down to for me. What are you guys going to be watching for as far as the Chiefs offense versus this Broncos defense?
How we more so how Denver allocates their assets to the secondary because they know Patrick PS2 is not out there. So if Riley Cooper gets beat once, if Jade gets beat once, do they start running more too high and not letting Hufanga have as much instinctive plays in the middle of the field? And if they run too high, how are we going to take advantage of that by, running the football, having plays in the middle of the field where you can get easy layup plays that just matriculate them down the field? I think they'll come out heavy early and try to be aggressive and try to play some single high to really test us. But I think all it takes is that one play, like DG says, from Worthy or a Hollywood play, like on a scissor release, one deep play downfield. I think that'll make them, all right, let's back up into our too high. We don't have the athlete to the speed to keep up with these guys now because this is the first time they've seen this receiving core since the last couple of years, obviously when we struggled. So I think early they'll probably try to test us, but I think if we can beat them over the top one time, we'll see a lot more too high the rest of the game. So how they operate to seeing this much speed from us, because they haven't seen it in a while, really ever, with this many guys, I'm definitely excited to see how that DC matches up against us, especially with no PS2. I expect a lot of too high, honestly. So that's why I think Trav, like you said, Trav and Rashid should have a big day, middle of the field wise.
Yeah, my biggest thing going into this game is the Josh Simmons versus Nick Benito matchup. We've obviously seen where Nick Benito has kind of ascended his game too. I think he leads the league this year in sacks as well, and then how good he's been for them. Even though they do have a great edge rusher on the other side, and Jonathan Cooper as well too. But I think he's got to be the guy you would circle when you're game planning for this game. This is a chance, an opportunity for a young kid like Josh Simmons to really prove his worth and where him being here in Kansas City. This is why you essentially went and drafted him for this type of game right here. Because going into last year, especially at home facing this team, you knew what kind of damage Nick Bonito and Zach Allen and Jonathan Cooper did to you in that game. You were able to escape that game with a win. But we all know how effective that pass rush can really be. So I think if Josh Simmons can go out there and pretty much stonewall one of the ascending top 5 edge rushers in this league in Nick Bonito, I think you ultimately be able to do what you need to do, especially across the middle of the field, and giving Mahomes enough time to scan and go through his progressions. If you can give him that amount of time, I think you'd be able to move the ball pretty effectively. So, and don't abandon the run. I know you want to pass it, and I know you want to get your shots down the field and things of that nature. Kareem Hunt needs to at least touch the ball 13 to 15 times in this game.
For sure.
So we know Pacheco there. Obviously, this is, and we'll talk about the other side of this, but you got to get off to a good start. Can't come out, in my personal opinion. Go out there, and I'm not saying to take the ball first. Still defer if that's your choice, but get off to a good start. Don't fall behind like you did Buffalo, and allow Buffalo to get into their game strip that they felt really comfortable in. They never had to necessarily get out of it. And even honestly, when you put a little bit of pressure on it, they end up folding as far as getting the ball back to you to have a chance to win the game, or at least tie the game. So you want to allow Broncos to be safe and comfortable in their game script for the majority of this game. Put pressure on them throughout the game, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. That's how you got to do it, because if you're putting points up on their defense, then all of a sudden they're in a place in which they really haven't felt really comfortable the entirety of the season. Speaking of which, flipping over to the other side of the ball, Chiefs defense versus Broncos offense. Broncos offense obviously has been talked about a lot in the struggle. I mentioned earlier about Bo Nix specifically and the idea of quarterbacks that scramble to try and create plays, and then quarterbacks that scramble and just because they're kind of panicking. Bo Nix has been one of the best in the National Football League as far as avoiding sacks, but he hasn't necessarily turned those into positive plays as a result. Been a lot of throwaways, a lot of off-target things. His footwork is very sloppy, in my opinion. He's still an athlete, and he still has a solid enough arm to be able to hurt you if you leave guys wide open. You just can't do that. Obviously, they did that versus the Buffalo Bills, and the Bills made him pay for that. J.K. Dobbins has run the ball well for them. Looks like he's going to be out for this game. It's going to be R.J. Harvey, who's done some good receiving work specifically, which is obviously a concern with the way that our linebackers have struggled in coverage too. Offensive line for them is very good, particularly in the run game. They move people very well. That is going to be a big piece of it. Can you at least get them into some true drop back situations to put Bo Nix into some uncomfortable positions and then get off the field? For a Broncos offense that has struggled a lot, and versus and obviously the Chiefs have maybe a lower viewpoint from me than maybe some of the stats would say, or et cetera, et cetera. They've struggled versus defenses that are definitely worse than the Chiefs. I promise you, the Raiders are worse than the Chiefs on defense, even for as I view them. So there are opportunities to get after these guys. What are you guys watching for the Chiefs defense versus this Broncos offense?
Man, duplicate what some of these other teams kind of have been able to do. I think I seen the stat the other day that the Broncos lead the league, especially offensively, in 3 and outs this year. So
the Eagles lead the league in 3 and outs. The Broncos lead the league in punts.
Okay, so
both bad.
Every team that they've pretty much faced has been able to get them off the field.
Yes.
So you should be able to even though knowing the Chiefs is probably going to score 20.
I swear to God.
Yo.
I'm not trying to get
but still, man.
Bro,
This team, I don't, especially offensively, and this is no disrespect to the Broncos offense or anything like that. I don't feel like there's a receiving threat on that team that you should walk into this game thinking, we really gotta take care of that guy. But obviously that was the same thing with the matchup with Buffalo. You let them throw the ball all across the yard on you. So yeah, you got to have a better game plan for this matchup. In my opinion, I'd like to see Spags get a little bit more aggressive, especially on third downs, and send a little bit of extra pressure to a guy like Bo Nix. I know that's obviously something you don't want to always do against a guy like Josh Allen in a sense, but now you're facing a guy that I don't think is as singularly talented as a Josh Allen, in my opinion. Bo Nix is serviceable kind of quarterback for them, but at the same time, you should be able to get home and affect a younger Bo Nix in a way to where it works in your favor. So I think that's really the matchup in this point. You got nothing to lose in this. Like Spags, like you have absolutely nothing to lose. Go out there and hey, excuse my language. Let your nuts hang in this game.
Let your nuts hang.
Like we haven't seen big ball Spags in a minute. So let's see it. Pause.
And look, this is obviously we'll see as far as the matchups are concerned. Obviously, they've gotten Marvin Mims somewhat involved. They've gotten some good play from Troy Franklin when he's been targeted. Obviously, Cortland Sutton is their number one wide receiver. Evan Ingram is a matchup problem as far as out of the tight end position. It'll just be very interesting to see how much Spags trusts this coverage unit versus them. Obviously, the linebackers are going to be a big piece of that, and the safeties for that matter. So, like, generally speaking, if you'd lined up Watson on the outside versus Cortland Sutton, just let him beat him up and then had a safety over the top, let Noah Williams take whoever was the other guy on the other side. Maybe you don't love that matchup with Troy Franklin if that's the other guy on the other side, just from a deep ball perspective, because Noel's speed is a little bit of a question mark. Maybe you don't love that, but if you can beat him up the line of scrimmage, then it doesn't necessarily matter. But in my opinion, force Bo Nix to throw these things over the middle of the field because he makes a lot of mistakes because he's late with throws. He doesn't necessarily love what he sees. And his footwork is off, so his accuracy kind of goes awry. So in my opinion, keep him contained. Don't allow him to just get out of the pocket to do whatever. Don't allow him to run on you all the live long day. And be aggressive. I agree with you, DG. This defense, because of how it struggled from the defensive line perspective, is probably going to have to live in the gash or be gash type of world where you're going to have to be aggressive. You have to send some blitzes, and sometimes they may create some explosives, but a lot of times you can create those negative plays that end up putting them behind the sticks to the point that they can't recover it from. So that's kind of the way that I look at it from that aspect. CJ, you got anything for the Chiefs defense here?
Bo Nix with 10-plus passing yard attempts is 32nd in the league at a completion rate. So force him to throw the ball down the field. Hasn't been having that many completions. So if this is a game where DG likes to say Spaz gets in that Duffy, I want to see a lot of McDuffie blitz packages and let them get on that island. And like she said, you got guys like Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, Cortland Sutton, Evan Ingram. I expect to get a lot of targets this week to see if we corrected our tight end mistakes. But Bo Nix hasn't been that good throwing the ball down the field. So if we do have to blitz, you got to make it count. He's been struggling against everybody else. Do not let him turn in to this completion merchant, whatever you want to call him this week. I swear to God, I'm not trying to hear this, bro. He's been struggling against everybody. Just continue to do what you need to do. Make him beat you over the top because he hasn't really done it all this year. He's been extending plays with his legs. The running game will not be as efficient just because R.J. Harvey's a good back, but when he goes off the field, who's the guy coming in behind him? So because him and J.K. were having a good one-two punch this year. So their offense has kind of been cookie cutter. It's kind of easy to tell. They like to throw the ball deep to Cortland Sutton. They try to get their run game involved early. Outside of that, it's kind of been Bo Nix extending plays with his legs, and that's why his completion percentage has been at a lower point this year. So I think the game plan is very simple, like DG just stated. Just how is this D-line going to react? Are they going to show up and ball out and put pressure on Bo? Because if you do that, he will turn the ball over. Can almost guarantee it. So it's up to them, to be honest, to dictate this game, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Not mad at it at all. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and get on to the Tell the Truth trifecta. What do you guys got as far as your favorite play here? I'll lead it off, and DG ironically did mention it earlier. I do think that Travis Kelce has a good matchup, and so I'm going to take his over 44.5 that I see as far as his line is concerned for my Tell the Truth trifecta play of the week.
Rasheed Rice, ATD, been scoring every week since he came back. He's a red zone monster. And he let him do Wildcat.
DG?
You know what? This is a gotta have it game. I usually don't take these kind of
Let
props.
them hang, DG.
I don't usually take these kind of props because they usually don't really work out well in my favor. But I'm gonna say take Mahomes over on his pass completions. Is it 23.5 this week? It's gotta have it. I think the game kind of in these situations he seems to play his best ball. Makes really good decisions. And I think this is one of those games where you see that. So 23 and a half over on Mahomes pass completions this week.
Okay. 23 and a half pass completions for Patrick Mahomes according to DG. CJ is taking Rashee Rice anytime touchdown. I'm taking Travis Kelce over his 45 yards. Yeah, that's a trifecta for the
all
week.
correlate.
All correlate. Let's go ahead and get and they all where they do in middle of the field, man. X factor and game picks, guys. Who's your X factor for the Chiefs, and what are you picking?
Ooh, X factor for this game.
X factor me would probably be Juju. I expect them to play more zone because I don't think they really trust because like I said, they haven't seen this receiving core in the last 2 years for us. So this is their first time really seeing, Worthy, Zay, and Rashee all on the field together in Hollywood. So I expect them to play a lot more zone. So I think Juju can have a really good day over the middle of the field, especially if they're going to double team Kelce or do their best to try to contain Rashee. So I think if Juju can make an explosive play over the middle of the field, force them into playing more too high, that'll make it easier for our guys to operate in the middle of the field. So he's my X factor for sure. I think they're going to leave him one-on-one in a couple of moments, and I think he can make a big play on him for sure, especially if they leave those linebackers out there.
Yeah. X factor for me are probably I'm just go with Josh Simmons. I think he's the biggest key in this game, especially keeping Mahomes upright, and keeping the integrity of that pocket for him or whatever. If that ultimately goes well, I don't see there being a reason why the Chiefs lose this game.
Facts. Josh been playing like an all-pro this year, man. This the moment you want to see it.
You guys got your picks?
Yep.
Oh, man.
Chiefs money line. I don't even care.
Yeah, just win the game.
Just win the game.
Just win. I don't have a score for real.
Don't even care. Money line.
With this being a division game, man,
it's gonna be ugly. So
figure out a way to win it.
Anyway, find a way to win the game. I'm right there with you guys. X factor. We were close. I thought that we had a good shot, and we still got a big one to Hollywood Brown. Obviously, he made a really good route. Ran a good route. I think that they're going to get a Taekwon third and bomb. And I think they're going to catch Hufanga being a little bit more aggressive than he should be and get him over the top here. Probably a little bit later in the game instead of early on in the game. We'll see how it goes, but I'll pick him as the X factor. But Josh Simmons is a great one. Juju obviously versus zone is also a good one. Defensive side of the ball. I mean, you just say just don't be terrible. That's really what it is, man. Because we've seen some bad defenses be able to hold them down, whether it's the Jets or it's the Giants. Giants, I guess, are more middle of the pack. But certainly, as far as the Giants gave up the points in the fourth quarter. Certainly the Jets and the Raiders, obviously on Thursday Night Football. So, yeah, man, just win the game. X factor Taekwon Thornton, because I did do a stay scheming on him last week. Contender or pretender? I'm going to ask you guys if you guys believe in these three teams real quick. Obviously, over the past week, one of these teams had a big win. One of these teams had a close win. And then the other one beat, in many respects, kind of one of their first good wins of the season as well. Contender or pretender, and this is the context of making the Super Bowl. We don't do half measures around here. Indianapolis Colts, contender or pretender?
Pretender for me.
Oh, yeah.
Until somebody, I'm never gonna pick them. In January, I'm not picking somebody over Mahomes, bro. It's the AFC. This is our conference. We've been running it for the last 8 years. So until somebody knocks it, I can't pick nobody over Mahomes, bro. Because this Daniel Jones hype is cute. I'm not trying to be a hater. It's the regular season, bro. I've seen a lot of good quarterbacks look good in the regular season. We try to finesse ourselves lying about Alex Smith. And then there's certain guys, they play well. And then when those lights come on, when you got to have it in January football is a different monster, bro. Sam Darnold just showed you that. He played like an MVP during the regular season. What happened in January? Shit gets spooky. So it's just, I love what the Colts are doing. I think they're having an amazing year. Me and DMac kind of called it. I thought they would play well. It just depended on Daniel Jones. He's exceeded my expectations. I didn't expect him to play this well. But overall, contender, meaning win the AFC? Yeah, no, not in that sense for sure. So I got to call him a pretender for sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of borderline with it. I think they have potential to be a contender. Just be from the aspect of I love what Shane Steichen does for them. Love the fact that
JT playing like an MVP.
Yeah,
for
Jonathan
sure.
Taylor is definitely clearly in my opinion the MVP of the league right now.
Facts.
But yeah, man, January football comes down to whose quarterback is
that regular season shit don't matter in January.
And I this is no disrespect to Daniel Jones, but we just seen a couple of weeks ago against the Steelers him look like the previous
this game versus the
Daniel
Falcons.
Jones
He almost lost that one.
Before, so it just boils down to I'll say I think right now I would classify them more as overachievers. Because you really didn't expect this from the Indianapolis Colts, and I think what they've done is great. I think that's ultimately why they went and made the trade for a Sauce Gardner to just push your chips all into the middle of the table, especially with Daniel Jones playing this way or whatever. You don't know how long that's actually gonna last. So I guess they're a pretender. Don't hate me, CeeLo.
CeeLo might like, hey, bro, I'm not sure. We're talking about winning the AFC. We're not talking about making the playoffs.
It's no disrespect, man.
We're talking about going to the bowl.
Yeah,
it's levels, bro. It's levels.
I do think that there is a world where they, if things go right, they could win it or whatever. But I just think Daniel Jones would have to
play out of
Daniel Jones would have to play out of his mind to really, yeah. That's the only thing that keeps me holding back from it.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly fair. I'm going to disagree with you guys. I think that they are a contender, and I think that they can win the AFC, even though obviously I'm not picking them over the Chiefs. I think that they have the running game that if they came up against the Bills or the Ravens, I think that they would take them out, in my personal opinion. And I know people, had their feelings about the Sauce Gardner. I don't love the process of the trade, but I think that will help what Luke likes to do on the back end as well. And then they got to get DeForest back when they're back healthy. But the offense, if they can run the ball the way they are, and we'll obviously talk about this next week because we will have them come here. The way Alec Pierce is playing, they got Josh Downs. Obviously, Tyler Ward is a beast at tight end. Michael Pittman is really good. So, it's tough. And obviously, the offensive line is playing well. So, I think that they're a contender, but obviously, I wouldn't pick them over the Chiefs. But I think they can win the AFC. I think that is possible for them. Next team, New England Patriots, contender or pretender?
Pretender. They're a good team, but it's just they're really young. Obviously, they've made a lot of strides. Like DG said, another overachieving team, a team that I had making the playoffs, but to be where they're at now, they're overachieving at a high rate, just like the Colts are doing this year. So a team that's going to make the playoffs, they're probably going to win the division if the Bills mess around and lose again another game. They got a big one versus Tampa Bay in Buffalo this week. So if Buffalo loses that game, the Patriots have a clear path toward being AFC East champs. So I think they're definitely a team that's making the playoffs. They're definitely going to have a chance to be a higher seed, if anything, if a wild card, but if not, win their division for sure. But it's just, again, regular season games are fun. It's just I've seen a lot of teams with great pieces around them, and if the quarterback fails, it doesn't matter if the quarterback can't rise to the occasion in January. You can have a great running back, you can have a great defense, all you want. At the end of the day, that quarterback got to make those big throws and make them when it's on the line. And I can't pick Drake May or Daniel Jones over the Chiefs. So it's just like and playing against Spags in a must-win game. I wish it was a different question, like making the playoffs being like a contender or pretender, but we're talking about going to the Super Bowl. I'm never going to pick Daniel Jones or Drake May to outplay Spags or Mahomes in January. So they're a pretender for me.
I probably lean pretender just on the basis of I think their schedule has kind of been working in.
They have a bottom feeder schedule for sure.
Yeah. So and I know and the
Colts do too, but you do what you're supposed to do. You win your games.
It obviously boils down to you can only play who's on your schedule, so you can't change that or anything. But I think a lot of it also is more indicative of how good of a coach Mike Vrabel is.
Coach of the year candidate for sure.
We've seen him in Tennessee take some Tennessee teams that had no business being in the playoffs or being, in contention. A Ryan Tannehill led team was the one seed at one point. So I do think that has been a big part of why that the turnaround has been able to happen for the Patriots. But at the same time, yeah, if you're telling me in a playoff scenario, Drake May versus Mahomes,
I don't care where that game is.
I don't care where the game is. I'm taking that. Maybe that's just me being overly confident in what we've seen Pat for the past couple of years. But I got to see more from Drake May before I especially
this is his first playoff.
Yeah, in that environment,
that's a lot to ask.
It's I think it's great to see it in the regular season, but then ultimately your legacy is proven off of can you do it when the playoffs come around. And they kind of remind me of that 2018 Chiefs team, Mahomes' second year in the league, and how he kind of captivated the league, and they were high flying kind of offense. I think the defense is a little bit better than that defense that we had, but ultimately I think that they're a young, fun team, high flying and winning a lot of games, and then ultimately you get to the playoffs and you may win a playoff game and things of that nature, but then you got to go through the guy. Can you beat the guy? And obviously Mahomes and them couldn't do it at that point in time, so we'll see what happens with them. But I do love that. I love watching that team though. I think they're great.
That would be a great game for sure if they played. But I ain't gonna lie, in the playoffs, I know these guys. They've had our way with us, and I think that's kind of like the indicative on the opinion. If it's a playoff game in Indianapolis and Buffalo or Baltimore going in, I'm probably picking Lamar or Josh. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes.
I like Daniel Jones. He's having a good season, but you just saw what Pittsburgh did, and he damn near lost the game versus Atlanta. If a better quarterback is on the field, they beat them. He turned the ball over and he fumbled twice. He just recovered one of them. If you do that in the playoffs versus those quarterbacks, let alone Mahomes, I'm not even talking about us, which is the top tier, you lose those games. That's just the thing for me. Like, you're starting to see the cracks start to open up in that Colts offense, because JT is amazing. And I was making a joke with some people in the group chat that DG's in. I'm like, they're going to give JT the ball like the next 4 plays after he fumbled and what happened. And then he ended up getting that 80-yard touchdown, because you cannot let Daniel Jones lose you football games. And if you do it in the playoffs, good quarterbacks like Josh Allen, Lamar, or Mahomes will beat you. That's just how I feel about those things in the playoffs. So,
yeah, I'm not mad at that at all. I personally would go pretenders for the Patriots. I am fully a believer in Drake May. I believed in him during college. I thought that he could be one of these difference-making quarterbacks. Did not sell my stock, even when people said that JD was better than him. From what I saw from him last year, I thought that he was only going to be better this year, and he's proven me right as far as that is concerned. But I think that even though the Patriots have gotten some really solid play from their defense, obviously Christian Gonzalez, Marcus Jones have been a really nice corner combination for him. I think you can get after them over the middle of the field. I think that their defensive line is solid. Yeah, it's Spillane. He just from his time in the Raiders, and he plays the role for what Vrabel wants to do with his defense well. But he can still be got. I think their defensive line is just solid, not necessarily really good as well. So I think that would be a thing holding them back. And then the run game, obviously with Henderson, has
more explosive,
played well and definitely explosive, but I think there's probably some limitations as far as that offense that would still allow a team to be able to beat them. So I think I'm a little bit lower on their ceiling on offense compared to a Colts as far as being able to protect the quarterback, even though they don't really need to protect Drake May nearly in the ways that they need to protect Daniel Jones. Now, we don't know what Drake May is in the playoffs yet, obviously. But that's how I kind of feel about them as well. Last team, Seattle Seahawks, contender or pretender?
Contender. Actually, take that.
I gotta go pretender.
No, pretender. I thought I was the first when you said Seahawks. The first thing that popped in my mind was Mike McDonald and JSN. But then I was like, who's throwing the football? Sam Darnold. I can't. Pretender. I can't trust Sam Darnold, bro.
I look.
Same reasons I gave for Drake and Daniel Jones. Same reason for them.
if you're asking me if who I'm picking between Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold, I gotta go DJ.
Neither, because they both.
Wow.
I don't like neither one of them. I'm probably gonna die either way. If my life
look,
was on,
I like. Here's the thing about Sam Darnold. I like Sam Darnold a lot as a prospect, and I thought he had all the arm talent in the world. And then he obviously goes to the Jets. They ruin him, as the Jets tend to do to quarterbacks. And then he goes to Minnesota. He has that renaissance season. I'm like, that's great. And then I'm like, okay, but he's working on the really good circumstances there. Is he going to be able to? The fact that he's carried this over to Seattle, and it's not like their offensive line has gotten significantly better. I don't know. I got a soft spot in my heart for Sam Darnold.
I like Sam Darnold, but that playoff game looked so bad, bro.
It was bad. It was,
and that was against a Detroit team that was depleted, and he couldn't score. And I'm like, he has everything. Like, they have a better defense in Detroit, clearly. They have a great running back room with Charbonnet and Kenny Walker. He has arguably the best receiver in football this year in JSN. They just added Shaheed to Torrey Horton and Cooper Kupp. Yeah. Like, their O-line's been playing great. They have all the pieces. But like we just stated, it's all cute until you need that quarterback to make them plays in January. Yeah. And I can't knock Daniel Jones and then Drake May for being a rookie or a second-year guy, and then look at Sam Darnold and give him a pass. So they're a pretender for me because I can't trust Sam Darnold in January. I'm sorry. Yeah.
You're asking me to put him in a scenario where it's him.
He's in Philly. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Jared Goff, or him versus Jalen Hurts. Like, I'm picking both of those guys over him any day of the week. I don't like the scenario of him going to Philly and
must-win game. Like, nah, bro.
I don't trust
I don't like that, bro. I don't like
Give me Philly all day.
For sure. Even
as bad as they look offensively.
But we got to acknowledge something. Where the Seahawks are at, and obviously this week will tell a lot.
They'll have a chance
they're going up against the Rams. This would be their chance
for the division.
This is going to be. I better say this is a big week for the division. It's not the end all be all because they do play.
Oh yeah, they play one more time. So yeah.
So we'll see. But this is a really good test. The offensive line, like you said, has been playing solid, but this is a really good Rams defensive line. We know that offense can put up points in a way in which the Commanders certainly can, or the Cardinals certainly can't. So, hey, how do you respond to that? Now, me personally, I'll be honest with you guys, I have them as a contender. I've had 4 contenders in the NFC for the entirety of the season. They've been on the outside looking in. Packers losing Tucker Kraft to me is too much for me to keep them in. I've taken them out, and I've inserted the Seattle Seahawks because of how good that defense is, how well Mike McDaniel has that offense. I mean, that entire team coached. What Kubiak has done with that offense, specifically allowing Sam Darnold to really hunt those explosive plays with his arm talent. And like you mentioned, obviously the weapons that he has, even though the run game hasn't necessarily cooked as much, I think that they are a level of flawed, but also have the high enough ceiling to compete with the Eagles, with the Lions, and there's one more team that I missed, and the Rams, as far as the NFC is concerned, to be able to win it.
They probably have arguably the best roster in the NFC. I'm not lying.
Yeah, I think it's a fair argument. The Eagles obviously are really talented,
but right now, adding Imamari, adding Shaheed, I think Seattle has the edge for me right now.
Yeah, I think that you can make a fair argument for it, especially some of the Rams secondary question
like
as far as that aspect is concerned.
Detroit's
into your offensive line, Detroit, like you said, Detroit's defensive line as well. So I think that there are real question marks there. And to be honest with you, and I know, don't get me wrong about this, Philly is Philly. They have the best home field advantage. So if they can get this NFC playoffs going through Seattle, and obviously we have seen it in the past of what Seattle looks like when they are in the playoffs. If they can get this NFC playoffs going through there, then that is a totally different advantage for them as well from that perspective that we could see. So
I would pick them to win a game at home. If it was at home for sure. Rather, if it's on the road, I'm not picking them for sure. But I think
definitely pick them. I think that they're contenders in that sense. But hey, this is a week for them to prove versus the Rams, obviously on Sunday. Which and actually, this actually is kind of dovetails right into what I wanted to get into. We're going to change things up. We had been doing the power rankings. I didn't really love the power rankings. We kind of just did it at the end just because we did it. I want to ask you guys just to do something a little bit differently. But before we do that, I did want to show this. This is going to be a really fun Sunday of football.
The 3 o'clock window is crazy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're obviously going to be we're obviously going to be playing
college
in the middle.
Too.
Yeah.
It's about to be a great weekend. Football, period.
Don't worry about that. Oh, you guys can't even see it yet. Don't worry about that Thursday night football game. That's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
But
go walk your dog, take your girl on a date. You don't need to watch this.
We are going to get, and I'm going to mention this game. Carolina Atlanta is probably going to be an entertaining game because both of these teams are bad. I know Carolina is 500. I don't believe that they're a good team. You can sue.
They shut them out last time they saw them. So
yeah, they did 30-0. So I think this is going to end up being an entertaining game from that perspective. Tampa Bay Buffalo should be a very good game. Tampa Bay possibly could get Bucky Irvin back. Something to look out for. Obviously, we know Buffalo struggles versus the run is a big thing. I think those are two good teams going after it. I won't say Tennessee, Houston. Hopefully, Houston handles that. We'll see. Chicago, Minnesota, I think is going to be fun. We see Minnesota seem like a better team with JJ McCarthy, still a very volatile team. Chicago lost to them, obviously, in week 1. They've been much better since that. If they win this game, then I think they're 7-4 at that point, I believe is the number for them if Chicago ends up winning that game.
They're 6-3 right now for the Bears.
Yeah. Oh, no, so they'd be 7-3. Yeah. Yep. 7-3 for Chicago. And all of a sudden, with the Niners having the injuries that they do, all of a sudden that puts them in a good position for the NFC playoffs. Green Bay at New York could be interesting. Green Bay at New York is also because we get Jameis Winston started, and that just brings a smile to my face. Anytime we get Jameis Winston started, I'm bought in.
With Jameis.
That's just me personally. Anytime I get Jameis Winston started, I'm bought in. That's all I need to see. Cincinnati, Pittsburgh is very interesting.
Shootout last time they played, so rematch.
Fun Unk Bowl 2.0, fun Unk Bowl, and hey. Everybody's favorite quarterback, Joe Burrow, said that he wants to come back and play on Thanksgiving versus the Ravens because the Bengals feel like they have a chance in this division because it's open. They beat the Steelers all of a sudden. They are very much in this playoff picture as well. As far as that is concerned, Chargers and Jacksonville, again, two teams trying to hold on the AFC
the rematch.
Like we just said, Seattle and the Rams, that NFC West game, that is going to
window is perfect.
Boy, that's going to be fun.
Every game is good.
Seattle, Arizona, but still intriguing from that perspective too. Baltimore, Cleveland, throwaway, should be, but we'll see. And then obviously us versus Denver. Sunday Night Football is going to be great with Detroit and Philadelphia. So awesome slate of football coming up.
All division games. You can't ask for nothing better for that 4 slate. 4 division game. That's why I love it because the division game is just so crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of fun divisional games, a lot of interesting playoff implications. And hey, we're at that point in the schedule where we're getting closer to Thanksgiving. We're getting closer to these games have a lot of playoff leverage on the line. So I did want to introduce our new kind of thing. We're just going to do quick winners and losers from the NFL. Obviously from the past week, we obviously spoke about a few of these teams, but just give me one winner from the games. We don't have to include that Thursday Night Football game that you guys wanted to highlight real quick.
Winners and losers.
Chicago for me, 6-3. They tied their last year's season win total already, and Caleb Williams is on pace for the first 4,000 yard season ever. Get that monkey off their back. I think he's at 2,100 yards.
Yeah.
I think they're tied for top of their division with the Green Bay loss from Monday night. So I think the Bears are easily the biggest winner of the weekend for me, for sure. Everything they want is right in front of them.
Losers is Jacksonville.
Boy, the way y'all lost, boy. I would say the Buffalo. The Bills are probably the biggest loser for me. Like, you lose all your energy on us, then you lose Miami on the road. Yeah, tough place, but you looked awful on offense. And New England keeps on winning. And at the beginning of the season, we thought there was no way that the Bills would lose this division. And to see them in this position now is kind of crazy. So that's definitely the biggest loser for me was the Bills.
Yeah. I would say winners to me, Chicago, LA, Rams as well too. They
another good one.
Throttled the Niners. I knew that was kind of coming after the way that they kind of,
especially that first game, boy, they was pissed.
Yeah, on Thursday night. I don't want to say Detroit because they faced half a team pretty much. But yeah, they're those are probably the big. Well, New England as well too. I think that's them. New England as well too. I think they were one of the bigger winners. Losers, Buffalo for sure. That Jacksonville game, losing to D Millie.
That fourth quarter was crazy,
insane.
And I'll tell you what, D Millie was letting them fly too.
Right. Yeah, losing that game was absolutely insane.
Devin Lloyd was so pissed.
I was kind of shocked that Pittsburgh didn't play a lot better, but then again, I guess I can be.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that team they're gonna allow the Ravens to win that division.
There's a reason the Ravens were still the favorite to win the division,
right?
Even when Lamar was out for 5 weeks.
It's crazy, right? That they can capitalize on that.
I got two specifically here. I'm gonna piggyback off of what you guys said out of Chicago, but Caleb Williams specifically. I understand that there's been a lot of the talk about Caleb Williams pre-draft. Oh, he's supposed to be this generational guy. He paints his fingernails. He cried to his mom, et cetera, et cetera. This kid is an electric quarterback. And I don't mean it in a sense of, oh, he's fun to watch, but he's not necessarily all that. No, I think he really is that good. I really do believe that way. The ability that he's had from mitigating sacks from last year to this year, he's becoming elite at that certain aspect of it. He really has always tried to stay within structure, but because Ben Johnson is much better than what he had last year, he now can do that and be successful doing that. They're starting to get more of Luther Bird and Colston Loveland involved. Thank God. They need to get all those kids off the field.
Jesus.
They got to emphasize more targets to those guys. Again, this kid, obviously from a leadership perspective and just staying in the fight with this team, I think he's showing a lot of mettle and a lot of toughness as well. And so give Caleb Williams a lot of credit for what he's building in Chicago, and he's given them a lot of hope at the quarterback position that a lot of Chicago fans have never experienced.
So far, so good.
The other one I wanted to say, just a tip of the cap. Tyler Shough, I thought, played a nice game versus the Panthers. Shout out to Tyler Shough because I did not have any expectations for him, and I thought that he actually threw the ball well to Chris Olave. And then a tip of the cap to Mike McDaniel, the Miami Dolphins, and their win over Buffalo. Obviously, designed the run game, survived the GM firing because he seems like he's a good coach. And then he rolled on by that Buffalo bar at the end just to troll.
That was funny. That was funny.
And I respect that. That is my type of carrying on as well. And then loser. Steelers just didn't look good whatsoever. That was a piss poor effort. And then Jacksonville, you can't lose that game. There's just no excuse to lose that game, in my personal opinion. So that we're gonna make that a weekly thing instead of the power rankings, just having some winners and losers. What's up?
Losers is whoever went to that damn Jets and Browns game.
And you sat through the whole game.
You bought tickets to that game. You're crazy.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Imagine getting beat by a quarterback that threw 52 yards, bro.
52 yards, bro.
Bro, who? I just want to know who wakes up and is like, you know what? Gonna go see Daniel Dylan Gabriel versus Justin.
You wanted me to get out the house and sit in traffic for this? Oh, you tripping? Absolutely not.
In the Meadowlands too.
Nope. You want me to spend my hard-earned gas money on this? You out your mind. I asked for a refund. I don't want to watch this. I did not enjoy my experience here at Meadowlands. I want my money back. Or I could say another winner was definitely New England. Like I said, the Bills losing, New England with another win, separating themselves. Yeah, team that could possibly win this division, man. Drake May's taking that step. We want to see him continue to get better, and they're doing that. Travion Henderson had this breakout game. Thank God, because I put him on a lot of my slips. So I've finally been waiting on that for a while. So
him in the end zone.
Man, he did it twice, and he even checked. He was asking.
You sure you want me to go in?
He's like,
that was one of the funniest moments of the week.
He ain't gonna catch me, so I'm like, you're like, all right. So that was good to see for them. So, but no, like we said earlier, them and the Colts have been two teams taking advantage of their schedules, and they're winning games, man, handling business.
I agree. America lost for having to.
America lost that game for sure. That game was trash. And that Eagles-Packers game Monday night, that game was 10-7 too.
But I was about to say, but 10-7, the thing is, Eagles-Packers, two good defenses in my opinion.
At least we tried to do something.
The offense. Raiders and Broncos just is terrible. It wasn't good defense. It was just terrible.
It was just three and out. I'm like, Lord,
it was disgusting. But yeah, we're gonna make it a point, obviously, to do some winners and losers as well. Do you guys have a later rest? Because if you don't, I do.
Anybody who went to that Jets and Browns game.
Yes, later.
I mean, the Steelers ain't out of it, but it's looking spooky for y'all. I may have to put y'all on rest. Not yet, but I'm a hold.
We're not there, but they're
getting close.
I will lay to rest, and I don't take a lot of pleasure in this, but I will be honest. We're laying to rest Bryce Young. He's not an NFL quarterback. He's going to be a really good backup quarterback for a long time because he's smart. He understands the game. From what I've heard, he's a delight to have in the room. So I think that he is going to be a really good backup quarterback in this league for a long time. He's just not an NFL quarterback because he has too many physical limitations. That's just the reality situation. He wants to play out of structure, but he can't play out of structure because he's not the athlete. He doesn't have the arm strength to do so. He has issues staying within the pocket because of the stature. It's not It's not tenable. So Bryce Young, I feel bad for doing this, but I'm sorry to say, we're going to lay you to rest, man.
Enjoy your life.
Sayonara.
All right, sorry, Bryce.
Sorry, Bryce Young. But you will have a long and fruitful career, making a lot of money as a backup quarterback. So shout out to you. On to the sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Use code 23 or code KingdomCast for $100 deposit match. Obviously, NBA in full swing, NHL in full swing. Obviously, NFL coming down the wire. College football coming down the wire. A lot of fun things on tap, to say the least. And then, of course, Wings and Things Game Day Box back this Sunday, and we back with it. Make sure you guys tap in as well. Chiefs football is back. Wings and Things got you for their Game Day Box as well. Anything before we go ahead and get on out of here, fellas?
Get a dub, man. Find a way.
Do something good for the world, man.
Find a way, bro.
Find a way to win, too, Chiefs.
Find a way to get a win, Chiefs. That's all that matters right now. Playing for your AFC West lives, in my personal opinion. Go on the road, coming out of your bye week, show us something. And that's
get a win, man.
Go out there and get a win, maybe. So nothing else to do, man. Peace out. Go Chiefs.
Chiefs.